Greetings, fellow carbon-based bipeds. I am Scott Rose, and you are watching Explosions and Stuff. Today, I'll be reviewing the 1993 film Showdown, starring Billy Blanks, Ken Scott, Patrick Kilpatrick, and Ken MacLeod. An overview of the movie? After moving to a new town, Ken Marx makes the mistake of talking to the school bully's girlfriend, a mistake that he has to pay for. After Ken has been beaten up multiple times, the school janitor and former cop Billy decides to teach Ken how to defend himself. However, a face from Billy's past finds this and lures both Ken and Billy into a world of danger and violence. The pros of this movie? Well, first of all, the supporting characters in this movie, the actors playing those characters, were great. They did a really good job. Christine Taylor, who played the reporter from Zoolander, she was in this movie. She was in it. She played the bully's girlfriend. That whole thing, that this whole movie revolved around, she was the catalyst for the whole bullying and the beating up and everything that happened in this movie, and she did a really good job in that role. Also, the guy who played Ken Marx's best friend, he was kind of quirky, kind of weird, kind of goofy, but he pulled that off beautifully. He did a great job with what he was given. Patrick Kilpatrick played Lee, the kind of guy who ran the underground fighting thing, and the face from Billy's past. He was just chewing the scenery. He was cheesy and over the top, and it was just fantastic because of that. Like, it was one of those things, it's so cheesy, you're going to need just this massive cracker just to hold all of that cheese. It was fantastic. The fight scenes and the training montages in this movie, mwah, beautiful. These people, the lead characters, were hired because of their martial arts skills. They weren't actors first, they were martial artists first, and then they got into acting. So the fight scenes and the martial arts scenes in this movie were just beautiful and glorious. I absolutely loved them. This movie was well shot. It was well put together. The cameraman and the director knew what they were doing. They knew how to shoot a movie. They knew how to film it. They knew how to capture the scenes and just do it well. Also, no shaky cam. I absolutely loved that there was no shaky cam in this movie. The cons of this movie? Well, I have to mention that the lead actors in this movie, their acting was pretty stiff. Let's be honest, Billy Blanks is the biggest name in this movie, and he's not a good actor. He's just not. And everyone else who played Ken Marx and the school bully, their acting was about on par with Billy Blanks' acting. They were on the same acting level. And the acting wasn't great, but they traded the martial arts ability for the acting. So they got the martial arts skills down, and it was beautiful. But the acting was pretty crappy from the leads. And you know what? I'm okay with that because I got that great fight scenes and those great martial arts, and I loved those. I'll give them the bad acting. They can have that. The characters in this movie, they were all pretty cliched. You know, there was the damsel in distress, the bully who's just an abusive boyfriend and wants to control his girlfriend. You had the quirky best friend. You had the underdog new kid at a new school. You have the obscure trainer that no one expected. And you had the evil sensei guy. Everyone was a stereotype. And I get that this is a very cliche movie. It was clichely written. And I get that these movies were staples of the time period of the late 80s and early 90s. But it still felt very cliched. Like, you could have traded out each of these actors and just had a different movie, because you've seen this so many times. So the cliche characters, definitely a con. The dialogue in this movie absolutely was poorly written. It was just bad and unbelievable. There wasn't a single moment during this movie where I didn't know that I was watching a movie just because of the dialogue. People never talked like that. It was unrealistic, unbelievable, and it was just horrible. I hated the dialogue in this movie. And I have to say, this entire movie, it really felt like just a cheap knockoff of the Karate Kid. Like a counterfeit Karate Kid. It had all the same cliches. It had the repairman slash janitor who was the trainer. It had the new kid in town who was the underdog. It had the evil sensei guy. It had the girl that the new kid wanted, and it had the bully boyfriend guy. It had all those cliches from the Karate Kid. It just felt like a bad, cheap, low-budget Karate Kid. The best action scene of the movie? It would have to be the big showdown at the end of the movie between Ken and the character Tom, who is the high school bully guy. Both actors who played these roles were skilled martial artists, and the fight scene that they created just looked beautiful. It was splendid. I loved it. Yes, it was a typical 80s action movie fight scene where, the underdog is losing and getting his butt kicked towards the beginning of the movie, and the bad guy is winning. Then something happens, he sees his teacher gives him the thumbs up, and the good guy gets all this hope up. He builds up, and he comes from behind, and he wins. Good guy wins, yes, and yeah, so it's a stereotypical fight scene, but it was still beautiful. I loved it. My overall thoughts of the movie? This is not an amazing movie by any means, but it's not a bad one either. The lead actors were primarily cast for their martial arts skills, not for their acting ability, and that shows. I give it one thumb up. Personally, I'd rather have great fight scenes and mediocre acting than the other way around in an action movie. It's not perfect, and it's by no means a great action movie. There are a lot of other movies that do the same thing better, but this is still worth checking out at least once. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel for new action movie reviews posted every week. Also, if you have any recommendations for movies you would like me to review in the future, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you, and have a nice day.